I never imagined a cleaning lady could unveil the unbelievable truth the 11 lawyers missed. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. My heart raced, pounding in my chest like a drum. The air felt thick, suffocating in its silence as I stood in the dim light of the office. Dust motes danced in the beams, floating like the secrets they hid. I gripped the broom in my trembling hands, a mundane tool for what felt like anything but a mundane revelation. Rachel had been my friend. My partner in evenings of laughter and late-night wine. She was the one who encouraged me to take this cleaning job at the law firm. You never know what you might find, Shed said, eyes twinkling. But I never anticipated this. I worked tirelessly through the floors, the windows, the endless rows of bookshelves, all stacked with paperwork and legal briefs. Yet beneath the polished surface lay more than just dust. There were whispers of deceit. On that gray Tuesday, I finally stumbled across it. A folder hidden behind the third shelf, dusty and neglected, as if it had been waiting for someone to uncover its dark secret. My hands shook when I pulled it out. The weight of the file felt heavier than any I had ever touched. I opened it, heart racing, breath shallow. Inside, chaos. Redacted names, faded photos, documents that spelled danger, evidence that twisted the jaw of morality. That I glanced over my shoulder, heart racing, ensuring no one would catch me. The scent of lemon cleaner mingled with the musty scent of the forgotten folder. Each word on the page ignited a spark of fear and disbelief. This was not a simple client case, it was a pending lawsuit that could change everything. Lives hung in the balance, secrets buried beneath oaths and legal shields. That I felt my stomach twist like a knot. I couldn't believe the 11 lawyers had overlooked this crucial detail. It was glaring. I imagined them in their tailored suits, secure in their confidence, oblivious to what lurked beneath the surface. Rage simmered in my veins. I was nobody, just the cleaning lady. But what if I was more? What if I could expose the truth? Suddenly, a sound shattered my thoughts. Footsteps echoed down the corridor. Panic surged through me, electricity shooting from my fingertips to my spine. Would I be caught? The folder felt like an anchor, heavy and revealing. I quickly shoved it back behind the shelf, praying it would stay hidden. I wasn't sure if I should run or confront whoever was coming. As the doorknob turned, I nearly held my breath. Would I risk everything? I felt lost, unsure what step to take next. The shadows deepened around me, and the silence was deafening. I had stumbled onto something monumental. But could I trust anyone with what I'd found? Would anyone even believe me? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The footsteps slowed, and I could see a figure through the frosted glass of the office door. My heart thundered in my ears as I scanned the room for a place to hide. The desk, cluttered with papers, offered a barricade, but it felt inadequate. There was no longer time to think about the ramifications of being caught. I ducked behind the massive oak desk, hoping to blend into the shadows. The door swung open, revealing David, one of the lawyers who had dismissed my cleaning efforts with a passing smile on so many afternoons. I caught a glimpse of his sharp suit and wiry frame as he strode into the room, his phone glued to his ear. No, I want a full report by the end of the day. This needs to be handled. Do not underestimate the implications of this case, he barked into the receiver, his voice a blend of authority and unease. That I held my breath as he paced the floor, each step a reminder of my smallness, my insignificance. Why did I let myself believe I could make a difference? A gnawing ache settled in my chest. I had stumbled upon something critical, and yet here I lay, cowering like a mouse. Desperation clawed at me. I had to know what he was talking about. Something isn't right here, he continued, speaking more to himself than anyone else. We've overlooked crucial evidence. We cannot let this slip through our fingers. Lives are at stake. The weight of those words hit me, sending chills down my spine. What if those lives included people I knew? What if someone close to me was entwined in this web of deception? Even as fear wrapped its tendrils around my heart, a flicker of courage ignited within me. I couldn't hide anymore. Maybe I wasn't just a cleaning lady. Maybe I was the only one who could right a profound wrong. As David hung up, I could barely suppress a gasp. He turned back toward the door, seemingly oblivious to the hidden observer in the shadows. My mind raced with fragmented thoughts of Rachel, of the curiosity in her eyes, urging me to dig deeper into the lives of those around me. It was unfortunate she had moved away. Her wisdom would have guided me through the uncertainty. If only I had someone to help me navigate this murky territory. As David walked past, I noticed the corner of the folder peeking out from behind the shelf, taunting me with its potential ruin. Could it really be just a matter of confronting him? Knowledge was power, but ignorance could be safer. I weighed my options, trembling in uncertainty. Hope surged when I heard the soft clatter of a coffee cup nearby. My friend Maya, the office intern, had stepped into the adjacent room. I remembered our late-night conversations filled with dreams and aspirations, coaxing each other to reach higher. Maybe she could help me. Maybe she could be my confidant in this chaos. I slipped out from behind the desk, suppressing a gasp as I caught sight of the frail woman in the copier room. There was kindness in her eyes, a spark that resonated with my own burgeoning resolve. The moment I stepped into view, she froze, a startled look dancing across her features. "Yasmin? What are you doing here?" she asked, curiosity mixed with concern. "Maya. I need to talk to you," I whispered, glancing back to ensure David was occupied. "It's about the case, something I found. It's huge, and I need your help." She stepped closer, her expression shifting from confusion to intrigue. "What do you mean? You can't talk about those things, Yasmin. You know that." "I know," I murmured, glancing nervously back at the door. "But this is different. Lives are on the line. We can make a difference." Maya's eyes widened, processing my words. I held my breath, waiting for her reaction, hoping against the odds that she would be brave enough to take a leap of faith with me. Just as she opened her mouth to respond, a loud crash echoed from the hallway, rattling the very walls of the firm. Chills raced down my spine as the sound of shouting erupted from outside. My heart sank. What had I gotten myself into? "Stay here," Maya instructed, her voice barely above a whisper. With a resolute nod, she turned toward the door. As voices grew louder. "I need to find out what's happening. No. I wanted to scream. I grappled with an impulse to grab her arm and keep her from involvement. But as she slipped through the doorway, I felt lost once more, teetering on the razor's edge of bravery and fear. The shouting grew, punctuated by the unmistakable sound of hurried footsteps. I pressed myself against the wall, heart racing, adrenaline pumping. Urgent faces rushed past, confusion painting their expressions, all seemingly oblivious to the undercurrents of darkness beneath the polished surface of their world. Then, as the chaos unfolded, a realization hit me: the only path forward lay through uncertainty. I had to act. I hadn't come this far only to retreat into the shadows again. With the tension mounting, I stepped forward, uncurling in a moment of Clarissa breath before the plunge that I would find David, confront him, and expose the truth, even if it meant risking everything. But as I steeled myself for this daunting path, a figure rushed in, facing me in the corridor. It was someone I never expected to see, someone whose presence could either save me or seal my fate. The figure stood there, framed by the doorway, the last person I expected to see. It was Michael, my estranged older brother, his face a blend of disbelief and concern. "Yasmin?" he breathed, his voice barely above a whisper, the weight of a shared history lingering between us. "What are you doing here?" I stammered, panic coursing through my veins. My mind raced. I hadn't seen him in years. Not after the family divide that had left our once close bond in tatters. But now, standing in this moment, with chaos swirling around us, our past felt both distant and suffocatingly present. That I came to see you, he said hesitantly, eyes darting towards the commotion behind me. But it looks like I've stumbled into something bigger than I imagined. What the hell is going on? I swallowed hard, the memories of our last conversation ringing in my ears, the harsh words, the finality of his departure. You shouldn't be here, I said, feeling the weight of the secrets around me. They were heavy enough without dragging him into the fray. There's something I need to do, and I can't involve you. Too late for that, he said, stepping further into the hallway, his gaze fixed on me. You're in trouble. I can help. In a world where everything seemed precarious, where the very fabric of truth felt fragile, his offer gave me a flicker of hope. But shadows of doubt taunted me. You left. How can I trust you now? Michael's expression hardened, his heartache shining through. I had my reasons, Yasmin. But if you're in danger, I'm not leaving you again. Just tell me what's happening. That I hesitated, my instinct to protect him battling with the fear that this storm would consume us both. It's about a case. Lives are at stake. I heard something I shouldn't have, and my voice trembled as I struggled to articulate the enormity of what I had stumbled upon. I need to confront David. I need to know what's really going on. He shifted, the tension between us palpable. If it's really that serious, we should go together. Strength in numbers, right? You're not doing this alone. The shouting from outside morphed into chaos, and I could already feel my resolve faltering. For a brief moment, I relived that feeling of unity we'd had as children, exploring the world together, dreaming of greatness while climbing trees and building forts. But years of silence had left holes in that connection, and I was terrified of reaching for something I might never fully grasp. Suddenly, the door at the end of the hall slammed open, and David emerged, flanked by two stern-looking men, faces I hadn't recognized until now. My heart dropped as I realized they wouldn't just be overseeing legal matters, they radiated authority, power, and something much more sinister. Hurry, I whispered urgently to Michael, pulling him back into the shadows. My breath quickened as their voices cut through the air, the gravity of their discussion emphasizing how unprepared I really was. We need to contain this before it spirals out of control, David said, his brow knitted in frustration. It can't leave this building. If it does, it'll ruin us. Lives are at stake, one of the men replied sharply. We'll do whatever it takes to keep this under wraps. No one must know. Pieces of the puzzle were slotting together with devastating clarity. I felt like a moth drawn to a flame, and my conviction flared stronger than ever. The idea that I could potentially be the one to expose their malfeasance gripped me with both exhilaration and terror. Yasmin, Michael whispered, pulling me back from the edge of my thoughts. We can't just eavesdrop. We need evidence, something tangible we can use. What do you suggest? I murmured, acutely aware of the urgency surrounding us. There's security footage. If we can access the main server room, we might find what we need. It's risky, but if they're hiding something, it will be there. His voice echoed my own growing determination. All right. But we need to be careful. As we edged back through the hall, the adrenaline surged, igniting a newfound resolve in me. The faint sounds of urgency drifted toward us as we reached a stairwell, my heart racing. In rhythm with my swift breaths, just as I thought we could make our escape, a loud crash erupted overhead, a reminder that time was slipping through my fingers. I looked up to see debris falling from the ceiling, the structure shuddering around us. Now! Michael shouted, grabbing my arm as we sprinted toward the nearest exit. The fabric of our chance to expose the truth felt akin to threading a needle in the dark, and with each step, I couldn't help but look back. This might be our undoing, or it might be the awakening I hadn't anticipated. Then, without warning, a chilling realization slammed into me. Maya hadn't returned. What if she was lost in the chaos? A wave of panic washed over me as the weight of what it meant to risk everything for a truth yet to be uncovered felt all too real. Michael, I gasped between breaths, Maya is still in there. We can't leave her. Everything around me stilled as the enormity of that sentiment crashed upon me. I hadn't just stepped into a battle for justice, I had plunged headlong into a fight to save those I loved, a fight that had unexpectedly drawn my brother back into my life. "Let's go find her," he said, determination lighting up his features. Together, we raced back through uncertainty, ready to confront the chaos that awaited us. Little did I know that as I darted back into the storm, the wheel of fate was already turning, and the next revelation was about to unravel everything I thought I knew. I stumbled through the hallway, the echoes of chaos morphing into a haunting backdrop as Michael and I navigated the rushing tide of fear and uncertainty. Every shadow felt like it harbored a secret, and as the weight of my panicked thoughts clashed with urgency, I barely registered the adrenaline coursing through my veins. "Maya!" I shouted, my voice rising above the cacophony, a desperate plea that seemed to dissolve into the oppressive air. "Where are you?" I could hear the thumping of my own heart, resonating anxiously as we traversed the debris-strewn corridor. "Yasmin, we need to be cautious," Michael warned, his hand tightening around my wrist. I could feel the warmth of his skin, a tether to the hope I desperately clung to. But the fear of losing Maya eclipsed all rational thought, blurring my vision and drowning out his voice. Just give me a moment," I gasped, the desperation amplifying within. It felt like every corner of the shadowed building was conspiring against us, harboring distress and, maybe, even threats hidden within the fragments of dim lighting. As we hastily rounded a corner, I caught sight of a familiar figure, a long, flowing dress contrasting against the backdrop of chaos. Maya was huddled against the wall, a picture of vulnerability, clutching her phone like a lifeline. Relief crashed over me in waves, a sweet salve amidst the fear that had gripped my heart. "Maya!" I rushed toward her, collapsing beside her. "Are you all right?" I barely had the courage to ask when the urgency of the situation loomed around us. I was trying to call for help," she stuttered, her eyes wide and glistening with unshed tears. I heard voices and then the building started shaking. "I thought I wouldn't get out. I'm here now," I promised, wrapping my arms around her, trying to shield her from the rising tide of panic. But bolstering her strength meant I had to embrace my own fears. "Michael is with me. We have to move," she nodded, though doubt lingered in her expression. I pondered for a fleeting moment if I should share the weight of the truth weighing on my heart or shield her from its harshness. But time wasn't on our side, and Michael's swift movement reminded me just how volatile this situation had become. "Let's go," he urged, glancing behind us where the echoes of chaos churned ominously. "We can't stay here any longer." Just as we got to our feet, a rumble resonated through the floor beneath us, a vibration that surged through the very air we breathed. From deep within the bowels of the building came the unmistakable sounds of sirens, blaring loudly as others began to flee the chaos. It was both terrifying and invigorating, the external clamor matching the internal turmoil that raged within me. "Where do we go?" Maya squeaked, her voice trembling as she tightened her grip on my hand. "Follow me," I instructed, a flicker of determination sparking within. "We need to get down to the main exit. It's not safe to linger." As we dashed down the stairs, the rumbling continued, almost echoing the tumult within my heart, a brooding storm of regret for how life had fractured and uncertainties that poisoned even the sunlight creeping through the windows. The precious bond one had with Maya, once fortified by friendship and trust, felt fragile as if mere whispers could shatter it all over again. But with each step, I felt Michael's presence next to me, an unexpected reminder that even in the wreckage of this moment, there was a possibility for reconciliation. "If we can just get proof of what's happening," he reminded me, "we might just stand a chance." The rush of fear fueled that determination. I had no idea how deep into danger we had traversed, nor what awaited us at the bottom, but something in his voice resonated, igniting a flicker of hope amidst the desolation. Suddenly, the staircase led us to a narrow corridor, the shadows creeping along the walls like lurking predators. A door stood ajar, flickering light spilling from within. "What if they're in there?" I uttered, dread curling its cold fingers around my heart. "Only one way to find out," Michael whispered, and without pausing to consider the wisdom of venturing forward, we slipped through the door. Inside, the atmosphere shifted, an eerie silence cloaking the room. Rows of monitors blared dimly, the flickering images revealing lives entangled in unseen threads of corruption. And there, at the center, was a lone figure hunched over a desk, a woman in a crisp white blouse, her focus sharp as she clicked through files. "Who are you?" I asked, too harshly, the fear spilling over into defensive aggression. But seeing her startled expression offered a moment of reflection. "That I am Amelia," she stammered, forcing her gaze up to meet mine. Her eyes darted between us, registering the whirlwind of chaos that had summoned our unlikely alliance. I was trying to gather evidence to take it to the authorities. But I got cut off. "What do you know?" Michael pressed, stepping closer, and I could feel the weight of her knowledge hanging in the air, tangible yet tenuous, enough to know that David and his associates are far worse than we all imagined, she said, her voice trembling. "They're working with entities far beyond this building, and they're using this case as a smokescreen for something much larger, something that could jeopardize countless lives." The horrifying implications hit me like a punch to the gut, squashing any remnants of hope I had summoned. For a fleeting moment, I imagined a world stripped of its deceit, free from the chains that bound those we loved, but before I could process the whirlwind of emotion surging through me, the door behind us slammed shut, a wave of dread washing over me. We were trapped. A heavy silence followed, the pressure brewing with fragmented tension as I realized that whatever unseen dangers lurked behind closed doors had found their way to us. Then, with alarming clarity, a chilling voice resonated from the darkness. "You didn't think you'd escape that easily, did you?" And just like that, the walls began to close in around us, the truth growing heavy like a shroud, tightening until I couldn't breathe. The unexpected convergence of danger and hope left me teetering on the brink. Would our united front be enough, or would it unravel in the hands of a fate we could barely comprehend? The shadows in the room seemed to swell, swallowing any remaining flickers of hope we clung to. My heart pounded in my chest, pounding louder than the chaos outside. "Who are you?" I managed to croak, finding a tiny voice deep within the knot of fear in my throat. "Just someone who's tired of watching the truth buried," the voice replied coolly, as a figure stepped forward out of the darkness, a man with an unsettling calmness about him. Dressed in a tailored suit that contrasted sharply with the panic swirling in the air, he approached with an air of confidence mixed with menace. I felt Michael tense beside me, his body shifting into a protective posture, ready to shield us from whatever this man represented. "Why are you doing this?" he demanded, defiance lacing his tone despite the escalating dread. The man smirked, a cruel twist on his lips. "You can't fight against an avalanche, my friend. The truth is a weight that crushes both the innocent and the guilty." He gestured dismissively at Amelia, who had gone pale at the revelation that we were caught in the web of deception she had been trying to expose. "You shouldn't have interfered. The people behind this are much bigger than you realize." That I could feel the walls closing in, both figuratively and literally, tightening around us like a vice. The urgency of our situation spiraled, an unending loop of fear grounding us in the moment while visions of escape danced just beyond reach. "Let us go," I urged, squeezing Maya's hand in an attempt to steady her. She looked at me, her fear palpable but mixed with an undercurrent of a shared dream to confront this injustice, an ember of defiance against our looming despair. The suit-clad man watched us closely, his eyes narrowing. "Oh, I'm afraid I can't allow that. Not now. But I can offer you a chance to understand the truth, to see just how deep the rabbit hole goes." He leaned in slightly, the room seemingly narrowing around us. "Why would you do that?" Amelia challenged, gaining her composure. Despite the quiver in her voice, the fervor behind her words put a spark into the suffocating silence. "Because," he said, chuckling darkly, "I like a good show. And you've gathered quite the cast. And who knows, I may even let the girl escape with her life if she impresses me." The conditional promise sent a chill running through me. Maya's grip tightened like a vice, anchoring me amidst the rising tide of uncertainty. "We're not playing your games," I declared, a desperate conviction surging through me. "Well, expose the truth, and you can't stop us." He raised an eyebrow, his smile growing wider. "Oh, but you underestimate how many strings I can pull. You think you're in control. You're in my play now." With a flick of his wrist, the monitors stirred, revealing distorted, flickering images of documents, people faces I recognized from the disturbing truths Amelia had hinted at. "Look closely," the man taunted, as the noise of sirens and panic from outside seemed to fade into the background, our collective breath suspended. These are the pieces of a puzzle you've barely begun to understand. That I blinked, taking in the chaos reflected on the screens, knowing they held the power to unveil a monstrous labyrinth of betrayal hidden within the system. My heart raced as I caught glimpses of familiar faces entwined in a conspiracy, lawyers, judges, even law enforcement officials. How can this be? I gasped, my past crashing into my present realization with each new horrific revelation. Douc. He pressed, his eyes gleaming. Your entire world rests on a foundation built of lies. And now, as you stand on the precipice, you must decide, will you accept the truth, or will you fall into despair? As the tension in the room thickened, a flicker of something threatened to break within me. Fear clashed with a deeper yearning, a longing to challenge the darkness that had been lurking in my world. The weight of my resolve pressed upon me, trembling at the edge of my consciousness, urging me to rise above the fear flooding my heart, and just as a thought solidified in my mind, a loud bang resonated through the door behind us, causing us all to turn in shock. Someone had broken through. I could hear the faint sounds of chaos, shouting voices mixing with the wails of sirens. Get down! Michael yelled, pushing Maya and me to the ground as the door flew open. In rushed security personnel, their faces masked with determination. Hands up! Everyone! The sudden confrontation sent a jolt of confusion and relief through me. The man who had been toying with our fate turned his gaze, a cool calculation settling in his expression. You think you can intervene? He challenged, confidence rippling beneath his composed facade. Fate shifted in the balance, darting across the lines between fear and hope. I locked eyes with Maya, feeling the spark of our shared determination. Whatever lay ahead, we were united, but the fallout of this moment hung heavy in the air, teetering on the edge of revelation, with whispers of danger trailing behind us. As we caught our collective breaths, knowing we had only opened the door to untold truths, one unfamiliar thought punctured through the haze. What if our enemies were closer than we realized? The sound of heavy boots echoed through the doorway, drowning out my chaotic thoughts, my heart racing in tandem with the pounding at my temples. The sight of the security personnel, both a match to our frantic spirits and a sobering reminder of the tightening noose around us, left me dizzy with conflicting emotions. Their weapons drawn, they scanned the room, spotting the man in the tailored suit. You! Hands up! The lead officer barked, and the power shift was undeniable. For a moment, the tight grip of fear began to slip, a fragile thread of hope weaving through my anxiety. You've made a grave mistake, the man replied smoothly, his confidence unshaken. You have no idea what you're stepping into. I know exactly what I'm stepping into, the officer shot back, taking one cautious step forward, his gaze flickering briefly to us. There are people who have gone missing, and we have reason to believe you are behind it. Step away from them. But instead of complying, the man chuckled, a dissonant sound that teetered between amusement and malice. Believe me, officer, it is not I who should be intimidated here. With a sudden gesture, he pointed toward the vast array of flickering monitors, still displaying their grotesque collage of conspiracy. They'll thank me for opening their eyes. Enough. A second officer shouted, pressing forward to flank his partner. They took control of the situation, drawing closer to the enigmatic figure, but I could feel the growing tension crackling like electricity in the air. He was a puppeteer, manipulating the scene for all it was worth, and every passing second added to the weight in my gut. Michael, we need to get out of here, I whispered, pulling him close, my urgency tangible. Maya clutched my arm, her eyes wide as we collectively held our breath, waiting for the threat to deflate or explode. This felt wrong, too cultivated, too orchestrated. Before Michael could respond, the man stepped toward the officers, a devilish grin spreading across his face like ink on paper. Do you think exposing these innocents is the answer? The truth here, he nodded toward us, isn't as clear-cut as it seems. Shut up. One of the officers shouted, clearly on edge, his voice wavered with uncertainty. The tension was palpable, threaded with the escalating fear that one wrong move could ignite chaos. Just as the standoff reached a boiling point, a commotion erupted in the hallway outside. The sound of shouting voices mingled with the sharp crack of gunfire echoed distantly, sending a shiver of dread racing down my spine. "That's not just us," whispered Maya, her voice trembling. "Hurry!" I urged, my instincts screaming to run, but Michael hesitated, torn between the chaos unfolding and the man who stood at the center of it all. "That I can help you find the truth," he said, his eyes glinting with fervor. "But only if you're willing to follow where it leads. Your bravery won't be enough without understanding the stakes." "Stop!" the second officer commanded, his frustration palpable. "You're not persuading anyone. And you're certainly not in control here." The man shrugged, feigning disinterest, and yet an air of calculated confidence lingered around him. "Am I not? You're all mere players in a game far too complex for you to comprehend." And perhaps he focused intently on me. "It's time for the cleaning lady to see the mess she's caught up in." What did he know? There was a strangled gasp in my throat, my mind racing, trying to piece together the fragments of an unsettled truth. What could he possibly mean? Was he suggesting I had a deeper connection to the sinister events, hidden in plain sight? And then, before I could ask the question swelling in my mind, another crash reverberated through the door. It flew open, and I stumbled back, bracing myself for what was to come. A straggled figure burst through, eyes wild, gasping for breath. It was an acquaintance, the very cleaning lady from downstairs. "Anna, get out!" she shouted, the panic in her voice redirecting my attention. "You all have to leave now. They're coming." The realization struck me hard, each word cutting deeper into the labyrinth of half-truths I had been navigating. I shared a fleeting glance with Michael, the weight of unspoken fears binding us in a moment of decision. A memory flickered through my mind, the countless times I had dismissed Anna's friendly encounters, her knowing glances, the odd bits of intimate conversation about the lives we led behind closed doors. "Anna, what are you talking about?" I managed to ask, dread pooling in my stomach, but she didn't address me. Her eyes were locked onto the man, whom she seemed to recognize all too well. "You won't win," she spat, her voice fierce despite the fear. "We've seen too much." "What do you mean?" whispered Maya, her confusion mirrored in my own. He took a step back, already plotting his next move, the atmosphere shifting again, filled with the scent of brewing conflict and hidden truths. He wore a look of intrigue, eyes dancing with an unsettling challenge. "Looks like the cleaning lady isn't merely a bystander after all." The weight of unyielding tension dampened our senses, as hope and turmoil blended into an intricate knot tightening around our hearts with every passing second. My mind raced, piecing together fragments that could have easily been lost. If Anna held the key to unearthing this darkness, would she help or hinder our escape? As chaos continued to unfold around us, I felt the stirrings of desperation mixed with hope, subtle, yet present amidst the turmoil. I could see Michael's resolve solidify, a bond formed through shared fear and an unwavering ambition to protect those who mattered most. But we were still on the edge, faced with the realization that the truth we sought was becoming ever more elusive. Suddenly, another explosion of sound erupted from the hallway, this time not just the distant cries of chaos outside but an unmistakable presence closing in. The officers exchanged hurried glances. "We have to secure the area," they shouted, urgency now permeating their commands. But before they could react, the door to our sanctuary slammed shut, sealing our fate within four confining walls and throwing our limited options into disarray. The man's laughter echoed like a haunting melody in the thickening shadows, and as he stepped toward me, revelation struck with an icy grip. What had he meant? What truth had I ignored? My heart raced as his words ponderously settled into my mind, the chaos sparks flying around us only serving to amplify the gravity of our unfolding reality. "Why do you care?" I forced out, desperation to understand spilling from my lips as Anna's presence clued me into something more profound. He leaned closer, the intrigue in his eyes matching the puzzle pandemonium unraveling within me, a sinister grin taking residence on his face. "Because, my dear, the heart of the mystery lies not just in the shadows, but also in the unlikely heroes like the cleaning lady you never imagined could unveil the truth." And suddenly, in the heart of the storm, I was standing at the precipice, staring into the depths of a truth so profound I could almost touch it. What did she know? How much danger were we in? The air crackled with the piercing tension of uncertainty, threading our lives into a web of dark intrigue, and as the door shuttered again, any notion of control slipped through my fingers like grains of sand. It was clear whatever lay ahead could change everything. The atmosphere thickened with palpable dread. The door rattled again, each shudder like a pulse of impending doom. My breath quickened, mingling with the chaos reverberating outside, voices clamoring, indistinct and fraught, laughter that felt more like a threat, and the crushing certainty that our sanctuary was anything but safe. Anna stepped forward, a fragile figure of defiance in the face of the encroaching darkness. I scanned her face for answers, searching for a glimmer of clarity amidst our spiraling chaos. "What do you know, Anna?" My voice trembled, revealing my desperation. The cleaning lady straightened, her small frame for once radiating strength. "I didn't just clean, you know. I listened. I saw things that were never meant to be seen." Her eyes caught mine, a blend of sorrow and resolve swirling in the depths. "The things that happened here, the whispers of power and money. They go far beyond the walls of this building." Every word ignited my curiosity and raised alarm bells within me. Behind Anna's words lay a trap of hidden truths, and if we were to survive, we would have to unearth them together. "Those men out there," she gestured to the door, "they are only the beginning. You're part of something much larger than you realize. The missing they aren't just lost. They're hidden, silenced by those who would do anything to protect their secrets." Michael's hand clasped mine, his grip a steadying force as he processed her revelations. "But why are you helping us?" he asked, his voice low, edged with uncertainty. "Because I can't turn a blind eye anymore." She blinked hard as if fighting tears. "I've watched them, the power they wield, how they slip in and out of this place. We're all complicit if we stay quiet. I've seen the people who went missing, they deserved better. I can't stay silent." The weight of her confession pressed against my chest. Each revelation spurred a cocktail of emotions: fear, anger, but most crucially, a flickering hope ignited by her courage. The cleaning lady, once relegated to the periphery of our lives, became our fiercest ally. Just then, the door shuttered once more, a resounding blow that sent a ripple of fear through us. The officers quickly exchanged urgent glances, the gravity of our peril starker than ever before. "We have to get out," shouted the lead officer, his voice suddenly urgent, scrambling for control in the chaos. The man in the suit turned his full attention to the door, his smirk widening as if the storm of violence outside fed his sense of power. "You see, they believe they have control," he said, his tone smooth as silk. "But control is an illusion, my friend." She pointed at us, every word draped in velvety malice, one that will shatter when the truth is finally exposed. "Enough." The second officer shouted, preparing to make a push to regain command. "We're not here for games. We're here for answers." At that moment, as if responding to the tension in the room, the door burst open. An officer came crashing through, eyes wild with urgency, but before he could utter a word, a figure followed closely, uninvited, unannounced. It was Derek, Michael's longtime mentor. My heart sank, a mixture of hope and dread intertwining. His presence meant to be reassuring felt out of place, like a misplaced puzzle piece in a shattered picture. "Get back!" he barked, scanning the room, bewildered by the standoff. "What the hell is happening here?" "Derek!" Michael surged forward, the relief in his eyes quickly overshadowed by caution. "Stay back. It's not safe." Without caring for the ongoing chaos, the imposing figure in the suit turned and stared at Derek, a gleam of recognition lighting up his devious expression. "Ah, the man playing both sides," he chuckled, almost gleeful. "Do you really think you can protect them? Or perhaps you've been playing a part all along?" "What do you mean?" Derek responded sharply, but the heat of confrontation flickered around us like static electricity. "The truth is far more dangerous than you can imagine," the man taunted, sharpening his tone, each word dripping with maleficence. "And I'm afraid, dear friend, that your facade will crumble. It always does." This revelation detonated in the room, a bomb of secrets and realizations that loomed larger than I could process. If Derek had been playing a part, what lay beneath? And how tightly did those threads entwine him with the dangerous game that had ensnared us? As uncertainty clouded my mind, I felt Michael's grip on my hand tighten. "What do we do?" he whispered, the desperation coating his voice weighing heavily on my heart. "Trust Anna," I urged, my own voice steadying as I directed my gaze back to her. We had been given more than mere words. Now, there was a sense of purpose spreading among USA fire that threatened to flicker and die out if we didn't act. Anna nodded as if reading my thoughts. "We need to find a way out while we can. They will come for all of us if we don't move now." Derek seemed to waver under the weight of accusation, but something in him shifted as he looked at us, perhaps a flicker of genuine concern ignited by the realization of how deep the betrayal ran. "I made mistakes," he said, his voice low but steady. "I didn't see how far this went. But we need to move, and we need to do it fast." Anna, eyes alight with defiance, spoke with conviction, her voice cutting through the din. "Let's expose them. We have the chance right now to find the answers that have been hidden for too long." Shouts echoed from the hallway, the urgency rising. The officers were beginning to regroup, but I could sense a crack in their resolve. Uncertainty had seeped into their ranks. Suddenly, a piercing cry shattered the air, causing everyone to freeze. A voice burst through the chaos, raw and desperate: "Help! Someone help!" The plea rang through the tension-filled space, and I felt my heart leap as each of us turned toward the noise, revelation horrific yet undeniable settling over us. This moment of innocence at the brink of darkness pulled at every thread of hope I had entwined within my grasp. "Someone's in trouble!" I shouted, instinct kicking in. "We can't abandon them." The pilot light of courage flared anew, bolstered by the rush of urgency. Perhaps this was our way out, a chance to uncover the layers of deceit binding user fall together into the throes of deeper chaos. Derek nodded, moving toward the doorway and beckoning us to follow. "Come on. Well, save whoever that is and find the truth together." The resonance of determination collided with the fear trembling in my chest. But as we stepped closer to the door, a profound realization set in. The echoes of danger were loud, and just beyond awaited the unknown, and yet, the cries grew louder, drawing us in as we surged forward into the frail wild mix of hope and dread. What lay on the other side would either change our lives forever or be the last decision we made together, the cliff of uncertainty at our feet, waiting for the leap into the abyss of truth. As we rushed towards the door, the desperate cries amplified, stirring a sense of purpose that pushed away the shadows encroaching around us. Every instinct screamed that we were racing against time, that every second spent hesitating could be crucial. My heart raced, a war drum echoing through my chest as I turned back to Anna. "Are you ready?" She nodded, a fierce glint in her eyes. The determination radiating from her felt like a lifeline amidst the tempest outside. With a final collective breath, we burst through the threshold into a world teetering on the brink of chaos. The corridor sprawled before us, a grim labyrinth of cold walls and flickering fluorescent lights, devoid of the warmth we had hoped to cling to. The cries for help echoed softly off the walls, leading us deeper into the shadows. They wrapped around our hearts like a vice, each pang urging us to move faster. The lead officer skidded to a halt, eyes darting between us and the door that trembled with unseen threats. "We need backup." He barked into his radio, but it felt oddly inadequate, as if he were acutely aware of his own lack of control over the oncoming storm. "Everyone stay together," Derek ordered, a commanding presence that momentarily injected some morale into the chaos. Michael's grip remained tight on my hand as we moved in sync, a silent pact formed through the thread of uncertainty. As we traversed the dim corridor, the cries grew more intense, less muffled, as if the very building trembled with the weight of anguish. Each step closer burned within me the realization that we were not merely rescuing a person, we were confronting the very heart of the darkness that loomed over us. Amidst the madness, Anna turned abruptly, pointing towards a door to our right, marked only by a battered, rusting sign that read, "Storage." "There. It's coming from there." Before I could think, I pushed the door open, a metallic groan echoing as it swung wide. The oppressive air spilled out, heavy with dust and the lingering sense of abandonment. Inside, a dim light flickered, casting eerie shadows that danced along the walls. The cries cut through the air again, resonant and unyielding. "Please. Help me." Derek stepped into the storage room first, our makeshift leader surveying the scene, and I followed behind. Stacking crates and old office furniture formed a makeshift barricade in one corner, through which a slight figure struggled, wrists bound and body slumping against the wall. "Don't worry. We're here to help," Michael shouted, his voice brimming with urgency. The figure looked up, panic-filled eyes meeting ours, eyes I recognized, filled with terror and desperation that sent a shockwave through me. "Elena?" I gasped. It was the intern who went missing weeks ago, her face hauntingly gaunt but somehow still familiar. "Get me out of here," she cried, her voice splintered and raw. "They've been watching me. I overheard things about this place, about all of you. Keep your voice down," Anna warned her, even as she darted forward to free her. The sight of Elena's trembling body rekindled a spark within me, igniting the fire of hope against the oppressive darkness. Closing in.as Anna frantically worked to free her. The tension escalated outside. The footsteps grew closer, at a tat-tatting of boots against linoleum, a reminder that our sanctuary was merely an illusion, delicate and fading. Once Elena was free, she collapsed against Anna, sobbing and gasping for breath. "I saw where they keep the files. The things they have. You have to trust me," she stammered between sobs, her eyes darting toward the door as if she sensed the oncoming danger. Derek knelt beside them, hands on Elena's shoulders. "Files? What do you mean?" "Evidence. Proof of everything they've been hiding." But she hesitated, fear flickering across her face. "There's a reason they're doing this. Someone is pulling the strings." Before Derek could press further, a loud bang reverberated through the storage room, the door shattering as it burst open. The lead officer stood there, wide-eyed, silhouetted against the corridor's harsh light. Behind him, chaos reigned. "Retreat," he shouted, panic threading through his tone. "They're getting surrounded. We need to go. Now, not without Elena," Michael asserted, his voice rising as he moved to pull her up again, their connection evident in the urgency of his movements. As we all scrambled to find our way out, Anna glanced back at me, her expression mantled in uncertainty. "What do we do?" she asked, wonder flickering in the chaos. We were at a crossroads, mocked by the silent walls of authority and secrecy that had kept us captive. Elena's voice, still trembling from trauma, forced me to focus. "You have to believe me. I know where the truth is buried, but we need to move quickly." Her words ignited a sudden adrenaline rush. A glimmer of hope mixed with fear threading through my mind. Maybe, just maybe, they were right about the power of truth. Just then, another harsh sound echoed against the walls, the high-pitched whir of machinery, a sound that sent shivers down my spine. What had they done to this place? Without hesitating, I grabbed Elena's hand, Michael and Anna falling in line behind me as we barreled into the fade of the corridor, spurred forward by urgency and the bonds forged in the heat of our shared struggle. But with every step, the sense of betrayal loomed larger. If Derek was entangled in their web, how could we trust him? And as if the universe conspired against us, the lights flickered and died, plunging us into darkness, that suffocating blackness. As terror enveloped us, the haunting words returned, whispering against my psyche, "The truth is far more dangerous than you can imagine." Just as I thought we reached a moment of clarity amidst the chaos, a figure stepped into the faint flicker of light behind us, their silhouette unmistakable and chilling. The man in the suit emerged from shadows, his eyes gleaming with unholy anticipation. "Oh, my dear friends," he taunted, voice smooth and dangerous. "You really didn't think it would be this easy, did you?" With the echoes of his laughter ringing in my ears, I knew in that moment that the true battle was only just beginning. The darkness swallowed us, the sudden absence of light heightening every sound and sensation. Elena's small hand trembled in mine, a fragile reminder of our shared urgency and fear. My heart raced louder than my thoughts, a war drum resounding against the uncertainty that clouded the air. The taunting voice of the man in the suit sent a ripple of dread coursing through my veins. "That we need to move," Anna urged, her voice breaking through the paralyzing grip of fear. Her tone suddenly shifted into something more commanding, a beacon in the abyss. "Derek, take the lead." Derek, momentarily stunned, shook off his shock. He nodded, sealing his determination as we shuffled back, forming a tight circle. The flickering lights cast ghostly shadows on his face, bringing forth a mix of resolve and uncertainty. Just as he took a step backward, the power surged faintly, illuminating the corridor for a fraction of a second before darkness reclaimed us. "Where do we go?" Michael asked breathlessly, his voice strained. "We can't go back through the storage room. They'll be waiting for us. Then we find another way." Derek's voice, now quieter and more confident, generated a fragile safety net that held us together. Suddenly, Elena's weight sagged against me, her breathing uneven. "Listen, I can recall some twists and turns, just follow me. If we hurry, I remember a stairwell nearby. But we can't make any noise." Anna pulled in a shaky breath, her resolve crystallizing as if we were drawing strength from each other's anxiety. "Let's move." Then we advanced, half-blind yet filled with a sense of purpose, our footsteps muted by the thick air around us. The weight of uncertainty pushed down like a suffocating blanket. I felt the familiar ache of betrayal creeping in as we navigated the corridor. Was Derek truly one of us? The slightest doubt flickered, but there was no time to dwell on it. The very act of survival eclipsed the questioning. Elena led the way, her petite frame guiding us through the unseen twists. Then, without warning, we stumbled onto a small doorway, barely ajar. She paused, her eyes wide with recognition, and pulled us in urgently. "In here." The cramped space was stuffy and dank, filled with forgotten remnants of whatever this building once was. The door clicked shut behind us, sealing us away from the world outside. The muted chaos seemed to dim into a distant echo, and for a moment, it felt as if we had escaped the tempest. "What are we doing?" Michael whispered, panting. "Are we safe here?" Elena shook her head. "This isn't safe, but it might buy us some time. I just need to remember where I hid it. It's all here, files, papers, they couldn't risk it getting out." Her eyes glistened with a glint of desperation mixed with determination. As she rifled through the boxes cluttering the constrained space, I couldn't help but feel swept up in the power of hope. What she may hold could unravel everything we'd faced. But mistrust tugged at the edge of my mind, the nagging fear about who we could trust. Finally, she pulled out a flashlight, its beam flickering weakly against the damp walls. "There." She pointed, her voice soaring with urgency as she rifled through a box labeled miscellaneous. "We need these documents. They could explain everything. Who's behind all of this? Just tell us what to do." Anna's voice shook, and I could see the weight of her resolve beginning to crack under pressure. I could feel the clock ticking down silently in my chest, the tempest offering no mercy as we waited for some semblance of clarity. But before Elena could further explain, the handle of the door rattled violently, a shadow emerging from the flickering light outside. Shouts sounded, voices we recognized, yelling orders, frantic, shoreline churning waves crashing against the boundaries of our sanctuary. "Time's up. We need to go now," Derek exclaimed, breaking into action, scanning for another exit. My heart sank at the sight of fear and uncertainty blooming across the group's faces, resembling a seal of fate. The door splintered as the figure outside pressed against it, kicking the frame violently. I felt the weight of panic seep rat poison into my veins. "What's your plan?" I shouted at Derek, desperation edging my voice. He turned to me, his composure wavering. "We create a diversion. Well, stick close and find the fire exit." But before we could come up with a coherent strategy, the door buckled and burst open, revealing a face we had hoped never to see again. The man in the suit, his smile impeccably sinister. "I must say, I enjoy these little games of hide and seek," he taunted, raising a gloved hand, signaling the armed figures behind him. Tension spiraled, and instead of retreating, I felt the surge of uncertainty coiling within me. "You have no idea what we're capable of." I found myself shouting, my heart racing. A commotion erupted around me, a mix of movement and anxiety as we braced ourselves for a fight we weren't entirely prepared for. Michael, with a quick-thinking flick of adrenaline, lunged for a nearby crate, prepared to shield us. I in the chaos that unfolded, time stood still. Would we be captured, or was this confrontation inevitable? My thoughts raced through a jumble of fears. Still, hope flickered in the recesses of my heart. And just as we prepared for the worst, a deafening explosion resonated from behind the man in the suit, shattering the atmosphere with an otherworldly crackle. Dust billowed, the air thickening with uncertainty. Now, Derek shouted. Amidst the chaos, I stole one last glimpse of the man in the suit, the glint of madness igniting behind his eyes as the world dissolved into a flurry of smoke and sound. And in that fleeting moment, the realization struck with exhilarating clarity: this was just the beginning. Would we ever uncover the truth? Or would we eventually lose ourselves chasing a shadow? In the whirlwind of chaos, I felt the pulse of time quickening, each heartbeat mirroring the urgency that gripped us. The world around seemed suspended in fear as we braced ourselves for what lay ahead. Clouds of dust enveloped us, obscuring vision while forcing clarity upon my heart, and in that overwhelming rush, I clung tightly to the threads of hope woven through the grim tapestry of our lives. Together, I whispered, albeit to myself as much as to the group. With renewed conviction, I grasped Alina's hand and urged her forward, feeling the weight of our shared determination to unearth the truth. That bond is what tethered us amidst the unrelenting storm. Our roads may have diverged, but converged again in the most unthinkable way. As I pushed past the rubble and chaos, I could feel Michael's presence beside me, steady and reassuring. Derek led the way, guiding us through the darkness with a flickering flashlight and a stubborn will to survive. The hazy echoes of conflict thrummed against the recesses of my mind, a reminder of the stakes we faced, the truth we desperately needed to unearth for Elena, for ourselves, for all those who had been silenced. Then we reached a clearance, where the tension in the air shifted as sirens wailed in the distance. This way, Derek urged, weaving us through the cramped alleyways of the forgotten storage room. My heart raced, adrenaline coursing through my veins, replacing the dread that had clouded my earlier moments. Do you think they'll follow? Anna murmured, her voice barely a whisper, eyes wide with fear for me or the unseen dangers lurking behind us. It was hard to tell. Let them try, I found myself saying, resolve igniting in me like a bonfire against the suffocating dark. But even as I spoke, uncertainty gripped me again. What awaited us in the unforgiving abyss of truth? Another explosion of noise echoed behind. Our world was shifting and spiraling, unstable but echoing a promise of retribution against the phantoms trying to choke us. Faster, I urged, pushed forward by an unseen force that fused together my fears and my determination. That we burst through a door marked emergency exit, and the fluorescent light flicked fiercely, illuminating an expanse that felt shackled by despair yet brimming with possibility. I stepped into the open air, and for an instant, it felt like a dream, a fleeting moment of respite amidst the mounting chaos, but that whimsy rapidly collided with cold reality as figures emerged from the shadows, faces flickering ominously in the chaotic storm. The men in the suits stepped out, their presence commanding fear. So you were foolish enough to escape, one growled, authority cutting through the air. We're done hiding, I shouted back, adrenaline pushing me forward. You've underestimated us for too long. I stood firm, channeling every ounce of strength into my voice, my sheer will radiating with a determination that belied the fear underlying it. Enough of this. You will regret standing against us, girl, the man snarled, stepping forward, his visage threatening. Yet as he advanced, I sensed that glimmer, an inkling of doubt flashed in his eyes. Just then, Elena stepped forward, her own resolve shining through the fading shadows. You don't understand who you're dealing with. This is not just about power, it's about lives, it's about truth. Her voice surged with courage, igniting the embers of hope that flickered within me. The man hesitated, an almost imperceptible crack in his facade, but it was enough to break through. What do you think you can accomplish? He scoffed, though a tremor laced his voice. That we can expose you, I affirmed. We can take you down, and this time, the truth won't be buried. The air crackled as he glared at us, realization dawning within him of the unity and defiance roaring back. You're nothing. He spat, but there was an undertone of fear infused in his condescension. Before another word escaped his lips, a series of distant shouts interrupted the standoff, and the pounding of boots reverberated around us. Light beams cut through the haze of chaos, accompanied by the Unmistakable symbols of force and authority. Backup had finally arrived, put your hands up. A commanding voice rang through, decisive and clear, as law enforcement stormed the area, pouring in like a tide, replacing shadows with the promise of justice. The moment hung, suspended in uncertainty, then the tide of fate crashed hard. The men in the suits recoiled, finding no escape from the reckoning that was now encroaching upon them. No. This can't happen. They howled, faces slackening into disbelief. With the reality of hope washing over me, I turned back to my makeshift family, the ones who had bravely shared this tumultuous journey. The spark of connection flickered vibrantly within us, ragged, yes, but thriving through the chaos we had faced together. As the authorities took control of the situation, fear began to peel away, revealing the fragile strength we had cultivated, a testament to our unyielding spirit. Amidst the fracturing darkness of the past, I turned to my brother, my eyes seeking something almost forgotten. "Michael," I began, heart aching with the weight of unspoken words. But before I could finish, he stepped forward, a genuine smile breaking through the wreckage. "You found courage when it mattered most, Yasmin. We're in this together now." Tears stung my eyes, clarity rushing forth, washing over the raw armor of hurt that had once separated us. In those simple words, we began to rebuild a thread to sew our tattered relationship back together again, albeit slowly. Then a figure stepped out from the crowd, a familiar face emerging from behind the officers. Rachel, my once lost friend, her own eyes glimmering with relief, stepped forward. "I came back when I heard," she said, her voice barely a whisper but filled with warmth. "You did it, Yasmin. You uncovered the truth," and in that moment, the true power of friendship of connection revealed itself amidst the echoes of strife. With a renewed sense of purpose, we began to walk toward the light of dawn breaking through the haze, hand in hand, united in fight and spirit. "Let's go," I whispered to them, allies, my hope, my family. The truth awaits. As we stepped into the light, I felt history begin to shift, felt the foundation tremble beneath us as the web of deception uncloaked at last. "This is just the beginning," I said, heart pounding in harmony with the dawn, turning the page toward a new chapter where the chains of silence had no place. And within, my heart finally soared, echoing with the promise, "Together, we rise."